Dragons reigned supreme at the top of the food chain for billions of years. Among them, the White Dragon King was the most powerful, feared even by the gods. Yet today, for reasons unknown, he allowed himself to be slain by humans, despite never having wronged them. Perhaps his mere existence was too great a threat to the world. As he lay dying, seeing no remorse in the human's eyes, the White Dragon King simply gazed at the sky one last time, wishing for his soul to descend into hell. He felt this was a fitting end for a divine dragon, a relic of the ancient age of gods. His body slowly disintegrated, returning to the earth, seemingly bringing the dragon god to his eternal rest. But death wasn't the end. The White Dragon King, given the name Dolan, was reborn as a human baby boy in a humble family. Years passed, and the boy grew. Dolan, of course, remembered his past life. In his village, he befriended a sweet petite girl named Eri. The peace of his new life often made him reflect on how meaningful it was. He desired nothing more than to enjoy this tranquility in the countryside with his family. Their village, Barant, was located on the northern border of the Agrest continent, so their livelihood naturally revolved around agriculture. Every day, Dolan helped his parents fertilize the fields. It was smelly work, but he knew it would lead to a bountiful harvest and more money for his family. With the knowledge accumulated over millions of years, Dolan could do almost anything to help his village. So, by the age of 15, he was considered an adult and expected to be self-sufficient. After finishing his farm work, he often went fishing with his older brother. Their conversation drifted to the dangerous swamp Dolan was tasked with investigating. It wasn't far from the village, and any trouble there would undoubtedly impact the villagers. Dolan, being the most capable fighter, was chosen for the mission. This task normally fell to the garrison soldiers, but Dolan saw they were busy bolstering the village's defenses, so he volunteered. He also preferred to go alone, not wanting to put anyone else in harm's way. Later, Dolan took his catch to some acquaintances to sell. They were surprised to see him so relaxed, fishing the day before his departure, for such a perilous mission. He simply replied that he'd been prepared for some time and was just waiting for the day to arrive. Marita and Albert were responsible for training the village children in basic combat to defend themselves against monsters. Usually Dolan assisted them, but this time they were on their own. There had been an increase in bandit activity in the surrounding area, and with the limited number of soldiers, everyone capable was stretched thin. Each villager understood the importance of being prepared to protect one another. Soon after, Eri arrived to fetch Dolan for magic lessons. She admired him. He was handsome and talented. They headed to the home of an elderly woman in the village for their training. In reality, Dolan possessed the power of a dragon, but in his human life, he chose not to use it. Besides magic, the old woman taught him many other valuable skills. Dolan's weakest area was medicine making, but it was considered essential knowledge for everyone in the village for basic self-care. Later that afternoon, he met a girl from out of town. The village chief introduced her as Christina, a young woman of noble birth. So, the village chief subtly reminded Dolan to be kind to Christina. She was a strong, straightforward young woman who greeted him with a firm, polite handshake. From that touch, they both sensed the other's strength, but neither acknowledged it aloud. Back home, Dolan harvested some vegetables. Winters in Varant were harsh, and summers brutally hot, giving him a new perspective on the hardships of human life. Arriving at his family's home, he was greeted by his younger brother, Marco. It was moments like these that made him appreciate his family. Before leaving for the swamp, he wanted to ensure his mother and brother would be safe. The family enjoyed a delicious meal together. His mother's cooking was exceptional, as always, leaving the plates clean. His father commented on the freedom of living independently, but also its loneliness, urging Dolan to find a wife, like his older brother, Dylan. Dolan had heard this advice before, but marriage wasn't on his mind. He wanted to enjoy his bachelorhood a little longer. Marco asked about his trip, learning that Dolan was headed to the former territory of the lizard folk. Their mother worried about his safety, but knowing it was necessary, she reminded him to be cautious. Dolan reassured her he would only observe from a distance. His father praised his maturity and ability to make his own decisions, encouraging him to follow his path while staying safe. The next morning, Dolan was surprised to find the villagers gathered to see him off. It was their way of showing support, as they knew soldiers should have been undertaking this mission. One of the soldiers even offered to switch places with him, but Marita intervened, reminding him that the village needed protection. Sister Letitia performed a blessing for Dolan's safe return. His magic teacher and Aerie arrived, sharing the elderly woman's premonition of something ominous about the journey, urging him to stay vigilant. Aerie had packed him a lunch for the road. The lizard folk had occasionally interacted with the village, but recently, they had vanished without a trace. Dolan's mission was to investigate what had happened to them and determine if there was a threat to his village. Upon reaching the swamp, Dolan's investigation uncovered something strange. Using his earth sense, he realized the earth elemental energy was unusually high, while the water elemental energy was significantly diminished. That explained the lizard folk's disappearance. They needed water to survive. He had to admit, old Muggle's fortune-telling was often accurate. Suddenly, he heard a noise nearby. He cautiously drew his sword, knowing that only powerful creatures could survive in this environment. He expected something formidable, but instead, he encountered a rather ditzy snakefolk girl. Initially startled, she tried to appear intimidating. Dolan wasn't fazed, wondering what a human was doing in such an inhospitable place. The snakefolk were known for their beauty and enchanting abilities, though this one seemed to lack any real seductive prowess. She attempted some charm magic, mimicking moves her mother had taught her, but something was clearly off, and Dolan remained unaffected. He found her attempts rather comical. Suddenly, the true threat to the lizard folk appeared, a monstrous creature. It targeted the naive snakefolk girl, and just as she was about to be swallowed whole, Dolan intervened, pulling her to safety. From that moment, the newfound companion dropped her guard and listened to him. After the monster left, Selena asked what it was. Dolan explained it was a deranged earth spirit. Selena had never seen anything so large and ugly. He explained that the lizard folk had once lived in the swamp, but were driven out by the earth spirit's constant harassment. Not long ago, Dolan's village, Verant, had experienced a significant earthquake, which he believed had disturbed and enraged the spirit. There was no cure for this kind of madness, so Dolan proposed they work together to stop it. Selena, revealing her name, confirmed she could use magic, though it was earth-based, like the spirits. Dolan knew that even though their magic was of the same element, Lamia's magic would still be effective against the spirit. Relieved, he tasked Selena with distracting the spirit, while he found a way to finish it. Selena agreed, though slightly worried about their lack of coordination, as they'd just met, and she feared putting him in danger. He reassured her with a determined look. The ditzy snakefolk girl offered him some encouraging words, but then, hilariously, recited wedding vows, leaving Dolan speechless. Just then, the earth spirit approached. As soon as they got the signal from each other, they sprang into action. Selena positioned herself to cast a large-scale binding spell, while Dolan assisted, successfully restraining the earth spirit. Because their magic was of the same type, Selena's spell quickly dissipated. But in that brief window, Dolan, harnessing his strength, sliced the spirit in two. Mud and earth splattered everywhere, sending Selena scrambling, though she couldn't fully escape the mess, getting covered in grime, but thankfully remaining unharmed. Dolan checked on her and thanked her for her help, formally introducing himself as Dolan from Verant and complimenting her beautiful name, which made her blush. They became fast friends as they searched for a place for Selena to clean up. By evening, things had calmed down, and Dolan cooked a meal for Selena to warm her up. She was delighted to meet someone who wasn't afraid of her. He explained that she was different from other Lamia he'd encountered. She was, well, less threatening, acting more comically than the typically aggressive and wary Lamia. Since there were no other villages nearby, he asked where she came from. Selena explained that when snakefolk women reach 17, they leave their village to find a mate. She was on such a journey, but hadn't yet met anyone as kind as Dolan. Her people consisted only of females who needed to find a strong partner to procreate. Male offspring were rare, and if born, they would inherit the father's race, not the mother's snakefolk form. Legend had it that the Lamia were created by a woman cursed to give birth to half-human, half-snake offspring, thus forming their race. Their bodies contained a potent venom, so their mates needed immunity to survive mating. Otherwise, intimacy would be fatal. Dolan was struck by the challenging nature of their reproductive process. Selena shared that her mother had met her father, a human like Dolan, on a similar journey. He complimented Selena on her beauty, noting she was even prettier than other Lamia he'd seen. She blushed at being called cute, perhaps falling for him. But, fearing she might harm him, she held back her feelings. She tasted his cooking and had to admit he was a fantastic chef. Her somewhat childish demeanor made Dolan chuckle, thinking she had a ways to go before being ready for marriage. Seeing him talk about his family with such a warm smile, she guessed he was very close to them. This made Dolan think back to his solitary life as a dragon, with no real companions. The next morning, they parted ways, each with their path to follow. He wished her luck in finding a suitable partner. Suddenly remembering that Lamia thrived on life energy, Dolan offered her some of his own as a parting gift. It was far more potent than he'd anticipated, nearly overwhelming Selena, as the life force of a dragon was on a different level. They agreed to visit each other's villages, if they ever had the chance, and then said their goodbyes. A few days later, Selena encountered two seemingly friendly adventurers. They greeted her, complimenting her strength for carrying so much gear. She assured them she was harmless, but the moment they saw her lower half, they ran away terrified. This saddened her. It happened every time, scaring people away. Meanwhile, Dolan trained under his magic teacher's guidance. They were working on magic potions, Dolan's weakest area. Unlike regular potions, magic potions were made from ingredients brimming with energy, requiring extreme caution. A single mistake could be fatal. While Ari excelled, Dolan struggled, constantly ruining the mixtures. He apologized to Muggle for wasting her time and effort. Ari reassured him, pointing out that even though he wasn't good at potion making, he had a knack for identifying herbs. He thanked her, admitting he struggled with the complex formulas. This was understandable. In his previous life as a dragon, he never needed medicine, so he never bothered learning about it. Muggle praised Ari's perfect potion, making her beam with pride. She was permitted to leave, though she would have preferred to stay with Dolan. Muggle commented on Dolan's advanced offensive magic, saying that with improved medical skills, he could save many lives. She encouraged him not to rush, reminding him there were no shortcuts to mastery. His talent, combined with his struggles in certain areas, would ultimately make him stronger. She offered to help him turn his failed, toxic concoctions into antidotes, inviting him to continue training with her. At lunchtime, Ari invited Dolan to her family's home for a meal. Though not his first time, he felt a bit shy about their kindness. Before eating, they prayed to their deity, Myral, the god of nature, an old acquaintance of Dolan's from his previous life. Seeing Myral's statue made him long for a reunion. Later, he was invited by Mew for a glass of fresh milk. This beautiful woman was a half-human, half-cow being, and she generously shared her abundant milk with the villagers. Nothing beat fresh milk from such a kind and beautiful woman, so the men of the village were frequent visitors. Dolan, happy to oblige, accepted Mew's milk. He then headed to the training grounds. Christina, intrigued, wondered where he was going. There, a blond young man, a few years older than Dolan but a close friend, trained the children. They greeted Dolan excitedly, showing off their newly learned skills. He, however, sensed a familiar presence in the nearby forest, a monstrous one. Concerned, he went to investigate. By nightfall, he realized it could be Selena, though she should have been long gone. He found her bathing and casually greeted her. Though naive, she was modest, trying to cover herself. Flustered, she spilled water, prompting Dolan to help her up, a comical scene given her state of undress. Unfazed Dolan, perhaps desensitized to such displays, thanks to Mew's dairy generosity, remained calm. He asked why she was still there, prompting her to demand he turn away. He playfully refused, complimenting her beauty. He believed beauty was meant to be admired, ignoring her protests. He even pointed out that his looking didn't diminish her beauty, which was true, but she remained embarrassed. He reasoned that appreciating beauty was a man's natural instinct, so he had nothing to be ashamed of. Selena, exasperated by his lack of reaction, scolded him. When he wouldn't listen, she slapped him. Realizing his blunder, he apologized for his insensitivity. Selena, forgiving, accepted his apology and asked why he was there. After all, she was supposed to be heading south to find a mate. She sadly explained that, while that was the plan, everyone she met was terrified of her. Only Dolan had been kind, which is why she returned. He was happy to see her again, genuinely glad she was there. Hearing this, she beamed, and Dolan, remembering his parents urging him to find a partner, suggested they live together. Perhaps she would bring him happiness. Selena, misunderstanding, thought he was confessing his love. She worried about living in the village, fearing the Lamia were seen as dangerous monsters. Dolan had a plan. Beast folk lived around the village, so she would likely be accepted. They might be wary at first, but with time, she could win them over. Overwhelmed with the possibility of befriending humans, Selena was speechless. Dolan thought her presence would make his life more interesting. Saying this aloud, he realized it sounded like he was wooing her. Selena, smiling brightly, agreed that living together would be fun, especially if they did what couples in love do. She figured Dolan could withstand her venom. Then, she confessed another reason for seeking him out. Dolan's life energy, which he'd shared earlier, had enthralled her. She'd never experienced anything so potent and invigorating. Sensing her desire, he slyly promised to share his life force with her anytime if they lived together. Selena, smitten, was sold. Sharing life energy was a definite plus. And so, they hatched a plan to integrate Selena into the village. For days, the villagers kept finding gifts of meat and fish left by Selena. The footprints and the nature of the gifts suggested a monster, but they couldn't understand why a monster, especially a powerful and dangerous Lamia, would be so generous. The villagers, ever wary of threats, were hesitant, not wanting a monster to disrupt their peaceful lives. A meeting with the village chief and other officials was quickly convened. Lamia sightings were rare, so her presence was considered an omen. While Selena's food was delicious, everyone remained cautious, wanting to eliminate the potential threat before anything bad happened. The elders deliberated, knowing even a lone Lamia was dangerous. Dolan, overhearing, worried if his plan to build trust was working. Selena had worked hard catching fish for the villagers. Muggle, more optimistic, urged the captain not to be hasty, knowing his concern for the village's safety. However, she reasoned that Lamia must have a motive for leaving gifts, so they should wait for her to appear and determine her intentions before taking action. Aerie presented Muggle's earlier divination, which predicted good fortune from the snake's arrival, aligning with Muggle's own beliefs. This reassured the villagers, who agreed to wait, much to Dolan's relief. That afternoon, he informed Selena it was time for the final step. The villagers' suspicion had lessened, making him confident their plan would succeed. The next day, Baron and Merida gathered a group, including Dolan, to search for the Lamia, hoping he could intervene if things went wrong. Seeing the village's main defense force departing, Albert worried about leaving other areas vulnerable. Dolan, however, saw it as an opportunity for more people to witness Selena's good nature. Baron, Merida, and most importantly, Sister Letitia, a follower of Myral with healing and detoxification abilities, held the most sway. As an envoy of the goddess, Letitia's approval was crucial for Selena's acceptance. Their plan involved staging a rescue. Dolan would play the victim, attacked by saber-toothed rabbits, and Selena would intervene at the opportune moment. However, things escalated when a massive monster suddenly appeared. Initially, they thought it was the Lamia, but this creature was far larger and more menacing. It was a mountain-clad king, incredibly powerful and inexplicably drawn to the area. Its single blow could kill anyone, so the captain ordered everyone back. One villager tripped and became the monster's target. In a surprising turn of events, Dolan intervened, and Selena, nearby, shielded both of them from the monster's attack. Using her skills, she guided the creature back to its territory, without harming anyone. Witnessing the Lamia's power, everyone was wary. The rescued villager thanked her, but his father pulled him away. Dolan stayed, shielding Selena, insisting she had saved them and wouldn't let anyone harm her. Merida considered her friendly, but the captain remained unconvinced. As head of security, he couldn't risk any harm to the village. Dolan argued that he'd been taught not to repay kindness with malice and wouldn't leave her. When questioned about the gifts, Selena confessed, pleading to stay with them, explaining her plight. She'd followed her people's custom of seeking a mate, but was met only with fear and rejection. She desperately wanted to belong, asking only for a temporary stay. Touched by her sincerity, the soldier softened. She explained that she saved them because she didn't want their families to grieve their loss. Having a human father, she wouldn't harm anyone. Muggle's prophecy seemed accurate, and when Letitia received a divine message from Myral accepting Selena, the villagers finally agreed. Dolan, stunned, realized his old friend had intervened. This divine decree was undeniable. Myral, the nature goddess, proclaimed Selena not as a monster, but a child of nature, urging peaceful coexistence. Selena, closing her eyes to lessen the fear caused by her gaze, fainted from blood loss and was taken for treatment. The next day, the villagers gifted her a house, welcoming her as a new resident. She was overjoyed by their generosity, which included gifts from Byron and his son as apologies, and thanks for saving his life. Aerie, unfamiliar with Lamia, was eager to learn about them from her new friend. Dolan formally introduced himself as her neighbor, shaking her hand to celebrate their success despite the unexpected turn of events. Grateful, Dolan later that night, in spirit form, ascended through 9 layers of clouds to a breathtakingly beautiful realm to meet Myral. Sensing his arrival, Myral, his old friend, greeted him. Once close companions, they used to address each other casually, but given Dolan's human form, he addressed her as Goddess. She mused that he seemed to have embraced his mortal life. She knew about Selena's situation, and Dolan thanked her for intervening, unsure of what would have happened otherwise. Now, everything was settled. He was surprised Myral recognized him in his human form. She explained that she heard his dragon soul's prayer for happiness, a stark contrast to the White Dragon King she once knew. Dolan didn't deny it, acknowledging the good friends he'd made in this life. When the hero's blade pierced his heart, he hadn't felt despair, but relief. Now, things were different. He realized that each day could be anyone's last. Human life was fragile and easily broken. This made him appreciate his current life even more. Myral observed his radiant spirit, happy to sense the pure joy in his heart, which she attributed partly to Lamia's presence. Dolan didn't deny it, promising to visit again, and then return to his human life. Sometime later, Dolan was awakened by an enthusiastic Selena, eager to start the day. He reminded her to knock next time, lest it become a bad habit. Seeing his cheerful expression, she inquired about it. He jokingly claimed a dream about an old friend, filled with kind words, was the reason. They had promised Christina to plant potatoes with her that day, and Selena wanted to join in. The cheerful knight had recently written home to the kingdom, specifically to the headmaster of the nation's largest academy, about her experiences. She could command spirits. Olivia, recognizing the letter from Christina, opened it. Christina was well known at the academy, a source of pride for them. Olivia, seeing Selena's eagerness, let her read the letter, which detailed life in Barant. Despite its small size, the village was rich in compassion. Faced with harsh weather and monsters, almost everyone knew how to fight. She described her first sparring match with Merida, the deputy leader. While formidable in the village, Merida was no match for Christina. Even when Merida fought seriously, Christina disarmed her effortlessly, impressing everyone. Merida graciously acknowledged Christina's extraordinary swordsmanship. Christina, in turn, praised Merida, delighting everyone. Baron hosted a feast to showcase the village's hospitality. The villagers' warmth and kindness quickly charmed Christina. Despite the hardships, the food was delicious, seemingly made with love by the women of the village. Initially, Christina struggled to adapt to such kindness. Her noble status created a respectful distance, preventing the casual camaraderie she witnessed among the others. This made her feel slightly isolated. She often practiced her swordsmanship alone at night, when Selena and Dolan found her. They struck up a conversation, noticing her aloofness. Selena, wanting to cheer her up, invited her home, sharing her positive energy. She showed Christina her straw bed, piled high with gifted plushies, describing its warmth and inviting her to try it. Hesitant at first, with Dolan present, she eventually lay down. There, they talked about Selena's early days in the village. Initially, she feared being ostracized as a dangerous monster, but the villagers accepted her, especially Baran and his family. Mew's milk was incredibly delicious and addictive. They even held milk tasting contests with new flavors, which explained the nightly gatherings at Baran's house. Their family was incredibly welcoming. After Baran's brother caught a large fish, he treated the whole village. Dolan pointed out the endearing qualities of the other villagers, and Selena, finding him too distant, playfully forced him onto the bed with Christina. He, amused by their enthusiasm, joined in the laughter. A few days later, the village held a milk drinking contest. Mew, asking for feedback on her new flavor, received high praise. Baron encouraged the skinny young men to drink plenty of his wife's milk to bulk up. Christina and Selena joined in, impressing everyone with their drinking prowess. This further bridged the gap between them and the villagers. Baron challenged Christina to a one-on-one milk drinking duel. Confident, she accepted, even though he was known as the village's champion milk drinker. They downed cup after cup, but Christina showed no signs of slowing down, while Baron started to waver. As predicted, he lost to her seemingly bottomless stomach. The villagers, now accepting her as one of their own, celebrated with her, putting their arms around her shoulders. Much to her delight, Mew then offered Christian homemade milk. She'd intended for Baran to try it first, but since he was out of commission, she offered it to Christina instead. Finding it even more refreshing than Muse, Christina asked for another glass, making Muse's daughter overjoyed, hugging Christina tightly, as it was her first time making milk. Thanks to Dolan and Selena, Christina had found her place in the village. In her letter, she described Varant as a wonderful place to live. Her friend at the academy was shocked she'd befriended a Lamia. However, this news had unforeseen consequences. The nobles disapproved, viewing Lamia as dangerous. The rumor seemed to originate from Kieran, who wanted Olivia to tell her about Christina's Lamia friend. Kieran, a mage working for the government, claimed that even a single Lamia could cause disaster. With recent unexplained disappearances, she suspected Selena was involved. Olivia defended Selena, mentioning Myral's recognition of her kind nature. Unconvinced, Kieran insisted on bringing Selena in for questioning. The Varant district administrator, seemingly siding with Kieran, dispatched soldiers to apprehend Selena immediately. Meanwhile, oblivious to this, the friends were busy farming. Selena, a novice at potato planting, struggled, and Dolan had to correct her technique, amused by Christina's equally unconventional methods. They treated it as a learning experience. Then, Cled arrived, urgently calling them. The village chief pulled Christina aside for a private conversation, while soldiers surrounded Selena, acting on orders from Gouda, the district administrator. Knowing Dolan had brought the monster to the village, Gouda questioned him. The village priestess reminded him of Myral's acceptance of Selena, but they refused to listen. Gouda insisted on eliminating any potential threat swiftly and decisively, claiming authority over the region. Dolan realized something was amiss. As he suspected, Gouda intended to take Selena to Central Command to verify her safety. Dolan questioned his distrust of the goddess's judgment. Gouda dismissed it, stating that even with Myral's blessing, Selena needed kingdom approval to reside in the kingdom. It was the law. Resigned, Dolan requested to accompany Selena, as he was responsible for bringing her to the village. Deeming him harmless, they agreed. The villagers were displeased with the soldiers' behavior, accusing them of being absent during times of need, but suddenly concerned about the villagers' safety. Worried, Christina decided to return to the academy for help, hoping the influential headmaster could intervene. She enhanced her body with magic and sped towards the capital at full speed. Meanwhile, Selena, experiencing her first carriage ride, was nervous, but Dolan's presence calmed her. He asked if she was okay, and she put on a brave face, though her eyes betrayed her fear. He reassured her, hugging her, which she found comforting, like a lover's embrace. He explained it was something his mother did to ease his worries, and it always worked. Selena finally allowed herself to cry, and Dolan promised to stay up all night talking with her. Christina, arriving at the headmaster's office, looked distraught. Olivia, sensing the situation, helped her calm down. For now, Selena was safe thanks to Myral's blessing. Kieran, citing her connection to the disappearances, was behind their summons. This seemed unlikely, given Varant's remote location. Dolan and Selena were awakened and taken to meet Gouda. Something seemed amiss when he led them to a secluded area for a private conversation. Whatever he told them left them shocked. Back at the academy, Christina was desperately trying to help Selena. Olivia revealed that Kieran's true motive was to capture Selena, exposing the corrupt nature of Kieran's faction within Central Command. Christina was frantic, but Olivia advised against rash actions, warning they could be accused of exceeding their authority. Dolan and Selena were brought to Kieran, who greeted them with false cordiality, welcoming Selena. When asked, Dolan explained his connection to Selena and his reason for accompanying her. Kieran invited them for a meal. Gouda was dismissed to finish his report. Selena, delighted by the delicious food, was told it was compensation for the inconvenience. Grateful, she thanked Kieran profusely. When asked about the paperwork to recognize Selena as a Varant resident, Kieran said it would begin the next day. If they could prove their innocence, they could return home. Relieved, Selena confessed her initial fear when surrounded by the soldiers. Selena, fearing death as a Lamia, was surprised when Kieran admitted it was a possibility. Kieran explained that Selena's lineage possessed potent manipulative abilities, a dangerous power. She'd observed these abilities firsthand, noting the pure and beautiful nature of the villagers. Back at the academy, Christina was furious at Gouda's departure, initially hostile, but she calmed down upon realizing he was on their side, ready to hear his explanation. Meanwhile, Dolan and Selena, after enjoying their meal, realized it was drugged. Kieran, dropping her facade, remarked on Selena's unique beauty among the many Lamia she'd encountered. Selena's ocean blue eyes and golden hair were striking, and Kieran desired such beauty for herself. The drugs took effect, and the pair collapsed. Gouda then explained the disappearances of young women in the Gala region. Christina, familiar with the unsolved cases, knew none of the victims had been found. They mentioned a 300-year-old sorceress residing in Gala, leading Christina to briefly suspect Olivia as the culprit. Gouda clarified that the sorceress was human and couldn't live that long naturally, implying forbidden magic was used to maintain her youth. Rumors suggested she used her magic to possess young women's bodies to prolong her life. And now, she had set her sights on a beautiful Lamia. Christina realized Kieran was the true villain, but she didn't understand why Gouda, knowing this, would endanger her friends. Time was running out, so they decided to act. Christina would accompany Gouda to hear the full explanation for putting Dolan and Selena in danger. Meanwhile, Selena was strapped to an operating table. The sorceress was ecstatic to have finally captured an intact Lamia, intending to take her supple skin. However, Dolan, awake and enraged, intervened, protecting his future wife. The sorceress was surprised, as he'd been given a substantial dose of sleeping drugs. He, noticing the magic circle on the floor, understood. He asked if Kieran was accustomed to killing, and she admitted she'd lost count of her victims. Even his restraints were made from golem lizard skin. Kieran questioned Dolan's human strength. As the White Dragon King, having lived for millions of years, Dolan knew reasoning with such a person was futile. He asked again how many she'd killed, and she chuckled, saying she stopped counting after 100. Her motive was research. Everyone possessed something beautiful, and she desired it all, taking what she needed to maintain her youth. Dolan recognized the forbidden magic she used, asking if she'd made a pact with demons to learn it. Kieran, impressed by his knowledge, revealed her body was enhanced with parts from powerful beings. Despite achieving immortality, she sought further upgrades, viewing other lives as insignificant, disposable at her whim. Dolan, seeing her depravity, was speechless. The sorceress, proud of her work, revealed she had powerful backers, explaining her 300 years of unchecked wickedness. She told Dolan to be grateful for his beautiful companion, as every part of Selena would be utilized. Selena, now awake, overheard everything, disgusted by the sorceress's cruelty. Kieran, surprised by their quick recovery, realized she needed to improve her sleeping draft. Selena then understood Gouda's attempts to help them. Dolan, noting that villains tended to be talkative, revealed they'd recorded her confession with a sound-transmitting artifact. With concrete evidence, Christina and high-ranking officials arrived. Dolan was happy to see Christina, but surprised by her dramatic entrance. She scolded them for using themselves as bait in such a dangerous situation. Olivia apologized, explaining it was a necessary risk, as Selena was already a target. Kieran, interrupting their lecture, shared her story. She lamented that those born beautiful couldn't understand her struggles. From a young age, Kieran recognized the world's beauty, something she craved, but her reflection revealed only ugliness. This disparity fueled her obsession, leading to a string of murders targeting young women. She stole their beauty, hoping to enhance her own, but despite her efforts, she could never achieve the ethereal beauty of beings like Olivia. Now, with her plans foiled, her centuries of effort felt meaningless. Despite her pursuit of beauty, her grotesque amalgamation of body parts made her monstrous. Still, she craved the Lamia for her collection. The battle began. Christina, inquiring about the creature, learned from Dolan that it was a fusion of countless species, confirming her demonic pact. It needed to be stopped. The sorceress, delusional, considered her form beautiful, wanting to live eternally as a fusion of all life. The soldiers were no match for her immense form. Selena, seeing their danger, used her eye magic to control the creature, but it was a short-lived reprieve. As Kieran prepared to attack, Christina shielded her friends, determined to execute the villain. With her specialized sword, she slashed at the creature's tentacles, inflicting pain on Kieran, who hardened her body and created hundreds of eyes to track their movements. She then unleashed dark magic, spewing toxic fumes at Christina. While Christina bought them time, Dolan drew a magic circle, intending to resolve the situation peacefully, unwilling to let Kieran destroy the environment. The headmaster wanted to help but couldn't summon her spirits. Suddenly, Dolan told everyone to stand back, taking charge. Christina, trusting him implicitly, stepped back. Olivia was surprised, sensing Dolan was about to use high-level magic, combined with a barrier circle. He intended to obliterate the creature without collateral damage. Tired of the sorceress's madness, he unleashed a celestial spear barrage. Countless sharp projectiles pierced the grotesque form, shredding it until it vanished. The barrier contained the explosion, preventing any damage. They would use this evidence against her accomplices. A few days later, Dolan and Selena stayed at a house arranged by the headmaster while they waited for Selena's paperwork. Dolan used the time to tutor Selena, who struggled with the material, her head nearly exploding. Christina visited, checking on them. Headmaster Olivia and Guda arrived, finally free after dealing with the aftermath of the incident, to express their gratitude. Dolan understood his duties. Selena, shocked by his humility, felt unworthy of his thanks. They were surprised to learn Guda had volunteered as bait to gain the sorceress's trust, revealing his true nature as a good man. Fortunately, at that time, Dolan had an antidote and escaped. They brought Selena's residency permit. The headmaster then mentioned a visitor. It was Jorg, Muggle's son, and Dolan's close friend. Muggle had informed him about Selena's situation, hoping he could assist. Jorg invited them to explore the city, a rare treat. The bustling marketplace offered everything imaginable. Selena, picking up a dropped item for a child, was met with prejudice for being a lamia. Dolan comforted her, but she was used to it. Jorg returned the item, intervening on her behalf. With everything resolved, they were allowed to return to Verant. Jorg then asked if Dolan was interested in attending the academy, as the headmaster highly valued his talent. It would be a waste for him to limit himself to protecting just the village. She believed he needed broader knowledge to protect more people. Dolan declined, citing his responsibilities in Verant. Olivia whispered about his dragon soul, her belief that he was destined for greater things. The offer remained open, welcoming him anytime. On their way back, Christina asked about his decision. He loved his village and, with his dragon powers, could protect everyone if he chose to. Selena, naturally, didn't want him to leave, harboring romantic feelings. Christina, however, believed the academy would benefit his growth. Meanwhile, in a distant forest, a grave threat emerged. Thousands of demonic monsters were unleashed, poised to invade the world. The forest-dwelling elves were the first victims. The monstrous ants were incredibly aggressive, their single strikes deadly. The arriving elven warriors were quickly overwhelmed. Onlookers, witnessing the horrific scene, were terrified. A dying elf warned of the demonic soldiers. The demon soldier. Back in the peaceful village of Verant, Dolan and Christina trained the children. Thanks to early training, the kids had a solid foundation, needing only strength to wield swords like adults. Captain Beren announced a 30-minute break. Selena, observing, recalled Dolan's academy invitation, acknowledging it would offer him greater opportunities. She wondered if he'd leave her for such a distant place. Lost in thought, she suddenly noticed children using her tail as a slide, and chased after them, scolding them playfully. Dolan, seeing this, was happy she was becoming a part of the village, hoping these peaceful moments would last. Christina then asked him to join her in exploring the nearby forest, known for its dangerous beasts. Tired of routine training, she wanted to test her skills against a real threat. Dolan, disapproving, advised against it. Christina explained her reason. Albert couldn't tend to the pigs, so she'd volunteered, adding that the forest was rich in acorns, a pig delicacy. She believed contributing to the village's well-being was important. Knowing she was determined, Dolan reluctantly agreed. Soon, the pig herding squad was formed, fully equipped to handle any beast encounters. Recent monster sightings warranted the precaution, though Christina and Selena, with their exceptional skills, were less of a concern. The forest air was refreshing, a perfect place for stress relief, Christina thought. Selena agreed, admitting that forest life had its appeal, though it could be lonely. To protect the pigs from predators, they split up to keep watch. Beren reminded them to be vigilant, as the area was isolated, and any sound likely meant a monster attack. Just then, a saber-toothed tiger, while not the forest's apex predator, but still dangerous and venomous, targeted Baran. He reacted swiftly, killing it instantly. Just when they thought it was safe, giant ants appeared. Hearing the commotion, Dolan and the others rushed to investigate. Arriving just in time, Dolan asked Christina for assistance. They'd never seen such creatures, but Dolan recognized them as demonic soldiers. Demon soldiers, created by denizens of the demon realm. These were mere scouts, yet they'd managed to overpower Baran. Dolan called them Zert. Surprising Christina, He explained he'd read about them in books. Though simple-minded, the Zert possessed immense speed and strength. Dolan, wanting Christina to test her skills, held it back with a ranged attack, a powerful blow, but not enough to finish it. Christina delivered the final strike, and the Zert vanished. Dolan urged secrecy, fearing the revelation of a demonic attack would cause panic. That evening, the villagers gathered. The chief had just checked on Baran. While his life wasn't in danger, he needed time to recover. Others worried about the saber-tooth attack, but the creature that injured Baran remained unidentified. Christina inquired if such creatures were common in the forest. The chief said it was the first time he'd heard of such a creature. Dolan concealed its demonic origins. The biggest concern was the villagers' morale. Baran was their strongest warrior, so his injury would unsettle them. Even a saber-toothed tiger was alarming news. The demonic soldier posed a far greater threat. He wondered what was happening in the forest. Muggle arrived, announcing Baran was awake. Examining his wounds, she determined they weren't from a tiger, but something far stronger. Likely a difficult opponent if they invaded. Dolan, wanting to investigate the mysterious happenings, asked Muggle about the forest. She advised learning to coexist with the unknown, a common practice for those living on the borderlands. They lived in harmony with nature, returning to the earth upon death. Dolan's desire to investigate was a challenge to nature. He argued that sometimes, challenges were necessary to safeguard the future, especially for the children, fearing future regrets if they remained passive. Muggle relented, allowing him to investigate, but with a partner for safety. Christina volunteered, but the chief refused, unwilling to risk her safety and break his promise to Gouda. Selena then volunteered, confident her unique eyes would be an asset to Dolan. He'd intended to go alone but agreed, seeing her determination. Christina was advised to stay, as this was a village matter, and they needed to learn to handle such situations independently. The elders agreed, stressing their safe return as the priority. If anything went wrong, they were to flee. They promised to return safely, not wanting to be restricted from future missions. The next morning, laden with supplies carried by Selena, they set off. It was their first time alone together in a while. Selena, misinterpreting this as romantic, was thrilled, determined to prove her usefulness. She vowed not to be a burden, and Dolan, reassured by her resolve and her mind control abilities, felt confident. Reaching the forest's edge, they encountered Christina, who casually greeted them. Dolan, surprised, thought she'd been forbidden to come. She claimed she was just enjoying the fresh air, but her true intention was to help. He reiterated that this was a village matter, but she insisted on contributing to Varant's safety, regardless of right or wrong. Dolan, unable to argue, and Selena, seeing the benefit of extra help, agreed. To save face, Dolan framed it as traveling in the same direction, not Christina tagging along. Deeper in the forest, they encountered giant spiders. Selena held them back, while Dolan and Christina fought as a duo. Though numerous, the spiders were weak and easily defeated. Suddenly, a different monster appeared, alarming Christina. To her astonishment, Selena offered it an apple and befriended it. Turning to Dolan, she was even more shocked to see him holding 7 baby monsters. She'd never seen such docile creatures. The monster even wrote an apology for scaring them. With things calm, they stopped to rest and share food with the seemingly grateful monsters. Christina, bewildered, wondered how they could casually dine with monsters. Selena reminded her that she too was a dangerous creature. Christina, close to Selena, had unconsciously forgotten that fact. At least Selena had a human upper half. The monkeys were entirely different. Dolan offered them Mew's new jam, exciting Selena. Christina, still apprehensive, was encouraged by Selena to interact with the baby monkeys. Finding them adorable while eating, she tentatively petted one. They seemed hungry, not malicious, only likely to attack for food. Dolan was surprised such a powerful mother monkey had been driven from her habitat, likely by the giant spiders they'd encountered earlier. This suggested something serious was happening, deeper in the forest. Christina, enjoying Dolan's mother's delicious bread, complimented him on his skill. He credited his father for teaching him how to season and dry meat. Sharing a meal with monsters in the forest was a unique experience. Selena complimented Christina, who blushed, finding Lamia's praise unexpected. Dolan, observing, found Christina captivating, like a figure from a classic painting. She, flattered, thought they were teasing her. Selena asked for tips on enhancing her allure, hoping to strengthen her charm magic. Dolan, however, found her already beautiful, unintentionally implying she was attractive to him, delighting Selena. She decided she no longer needed to seek a mate. Dolan would marry her. Blushing, she assumed he was hiding his feelings due to shyness. She mistook his compliment for a proposal. Suddenly, a wounded fairy, Marl, appeared in a glowing orb, urging them to flee, just as a monster arrived. Recognizing the demonic soldiers from before, Dolan quickly dispatched them, while Selena ushered the monkeys to safety. The two swordsmen teamed up, eliminating another one. This time, they were facing a larger force. Selena, surrounded, was covered by Dolan's energy barrage. While effective, it couldn't be sustained. They resorted to swords, and Dolan, facing a two-pronged attack, unleashed his dragon strength, crushing Azurt's head with ease. Using his dragon powers in his human form made him feel guilty towards his parents, who had given him this body. But desperate times called for desperate measures. Christina fought skillfully, and when cornered, Selena saved her. She thanked Selena, who humbly replied that she would have been fine. Dolan complimented Selena's heroic nature, calling her beautiful, which made her blush. Marl, recovering, thanked them. Surprised to see humans and a Lamia together, they introduced themselves, and Marl explained she'd been chased by a demon soldier. Dolan realized the ants had driven the monsters from the forest. The Zert were scouts, foreshadowing a greater threat. Christina asked Marl for more information, as they were investigating the forest changes. Marl, though troubled, hesitated to cooperate. Suddenly, they were surrounded. Dolan, sensing no hostility, stopped Christina from drawing her sword, showing his peaceful intentions by lowering his weapon. Selena, understanding, closed her eyes, prompting Christina to do the same. Elven soldiers appeared, ordering Marl away from the humans, irritating Dolan. Tensions rose until Marl explained they were her saviors. Geo, the elven leader, approached, grateful for their help. The wary women stayed close to Dolan. The elves, territorial and isolated, questioned their presence. Dolan introduced himself as a Varant villager, explaining his investigation of the monsters that had appeared in their village. He apologized for not seeking permission first. Geo, understanding, didn't blame them, assuming they were intruders. He advised them to leave, as the situation was dire. Dolan mentioned the demonic forces, surprising Geo, who realized he knew about them. The forest dwellers were struggling against a dark force. Christina, hearing this, inquired about the elves' defensive strategies, asking about their numbers and weaponry. As a compassionate noble, Christina was distraught by the elves' plight, nearly strangling Geo in her desperation to help, forcing Dolan and Selena to intervene. She argued that Varant was also in danger, and helping the elves meant helping their village too. If the forest fell, the demonic forces would spread. Her passion eased the warrior's apprehension. She apologized for her outburst, explaining her concern for the elves. The others noted their savior's kindness and strength, evident in their defeat of the ants. Gaining elven trust on the first encounter was rare, but Selena's presence helped. A human-friendly Lamia was a testament to their trustworthiness, forging a bond between them. Dolan, with his ancient knowledge, knew of the portal connecting the demon realm to the forest. While the Zert were manageable, the true danger lay in the portal's full opening, unleashing powerful demons. He was determined to stop them, even if it meant revealing his dragon soul and facing banishment. He explained the elves couldn't handle this alone, and offered their assistance, a violation of elven law, but the dire situation compelled them to agree. Fio, Geo's sister, understood his difficult decision as their leader, assuring him of their support. Everyone rejoiced. Dolan assured them they could handle their safety, urging the elves to fight without concern for them. As they were about to shake hands, a loud rumble signaled the battle's beginning. Everyone was shocked by the ominous magical energy. Dolan felt a sense of familiarity, having encountered it before. A portal to the demon realm had partially opened, unleashing powerful demons. Only 3 had emerged, but they were enough to threaten the forest. Geo, wanting to defend their home, prepared to leave. Dolan, using wind magic, enhanced their speed. They followed the elves back to their village. The 3 demons found the human world appealing, wanting to claim it for their demon lord. They were the vanguard, proving their strength. A more powerful entity was yet to arrive, its mana too great to pass through the partially open portal. The red demon, Garen, decided to pass the time by slaughtering, sensing a nearby elven village. Jorud was eager to join the carnage, but Jaren, uninterested in weaklings and focused on his mission, left the fun to his companions. Jorid headed for the largest tree, while the other demon, drawn to the unique fragrance of the flowers, decided to express her appreciation for them. Meanwhile, the elves struggled against the relentless ant horde, a battle raging for hours. The seemingly endless stream of monsters was a mystery, and to make matters worse, Jorid arrived. He announced himself as one of the 4 demon knights, declaring war by blasting the elven wall. The elves panicked, facing such a powerful foe. Dolan's group, still running, received a warning from the spirits. Monsters were attacking from the north, the high-ranking demons Dolan had mentioned. Geo ordered the others to reinforce the southwest defenses. Monsters blocked their path, delaying their return. The demon, reveling in his slaughter of the elven warriors, praised their screams. Spotting a survivor, he prepared to attack, but the forest's guardian spirit intervened, restraining him with nature's power. Black roses drained his blood and mana. War raged throughout the forest. Dolan cleared a path for the retreating elves with a wide area attack. Christina and Selena finished off the remaining monsters. With more demon soldiers arriving, Dolan asked them to buy him some time. He gave them magic crystals for a temporary stat boost, items they'd found in the swamp. Christina unleashed a whirlwind, clearing their path. Selena conjured thorns, impaling the demon soldiers. Dolan, not to be outdone, unleashed a massive firestorm, incinerating the rest. Geo, stunned by their power, jokingly admitted his reliance on them. Dolan had proven their worth. Meanwhile, Jorid struggled against Diodora's restraints. She condemned him for destroying the forest and slaughtering the elves. Though trapped, he remained defiant, claiming innocence and blaming the weak for their fate. Weakness was the true sin. Diodora, unimpressed, considered him a weakling hiding behind arrogance. As she prepared the final blow, Raphrasia arrived, freeing Jorid by destroying her black roses. She recognized Diodora as a powerful flower spirit. Dolan's group reached the village, finding it safe, but other areas were under attack, so they split up to reinforce the defenses. The 2 demons, unconcerned about the battle, exchanged banter. Jorid, wanting to prove himself, asked Raphrasia not to interfere. Raphrasia, believing herself better suited to fight the rose spirit, told him to step aside. Insulted, Diodora telepathically called for reinforcements, but received no response. Raphrasia revealed the flowers she'd destroyed, explaining her late arrival. She'd been busy toying with the other flower spirits. She described her brutal massacre of Diodora's companions, enraging her. Seeking revenge, Diodora attacked. The demons found her anger amusing. Flowers, they argued, constantly competed for beauty. With only the black rose remaining, she should be grateful. Provoked, Diodora attacked recklessly, creating openings. Raphrasia's magic withered plant spirits, countering Diodora's abilities. She revealed herself as a demon realm flower spirit, explaining her power. A mere touch caused other flowers to decay. Raphrasia, a spirit of hell, thrived on blood and life, viewing her kind as sacrifices for her beauty. Diodora, struggling to land a blow, finally grazed Raphrasia, enraging her. The black rose taunted, reminding her that the most beautiful flowers had the sharpest thorns. Raphrasia, now serious, considered the scratch to her beautiful face a grave offense. Both powered up, but Jorid, impatient, joined the fight. Diodora's vine wall was easily shattered by his brute strength. Raphrasia's poisonous attack caused Diodora's body to decay. They pressed their attack, aiming for a painful death, but Dolan, sensing the danger, descended from the sky, confronting the demons. They were surprised by his human form. He checked on Diodora, who assured him she was all right. Enraged, Jorid attacked, but Christina intercepted his blow. Dolan landed a punch, though not a decisive one. Raphrasia's blindside attack backfired, as elven warriors, hidden in the forest, ambushed her. They held a tactical advantage, and dispelling the dark miasma weakened the demons. A surge of magic signaled the arrival of the final demon knight, more powerful than the other 3 combined. Jorid, boasting, vowed to crush them before the last knight arrived, but another surge of magical energy distracted them. Selena, having charged her power, joined the fight, enraged by the senseless deaths. She summoned a giant serpent, exciting Raphrasia, who sought to absorb its immense mana. But Dolan, anticipating this, blasted her away. Diodora slammed Raphrasia into the ground, mocking her ugliness. Raphrasia, enraged, targeted them. Selena restrained the other demon. Dolan praised her, telling her to leave the rest to him. He cast a combined earth and fire spell, creating a judgment spear, initially aimed at Jorid, but sensing another presence, he redirected it. Jaren, seeing his comrade struggling, arrived to assist, mocking Jorid's pathetic display and challenging Selena. Caught off guard, she lost focus, allowing Jorid to escape. He, wanting no further interruptions, seized the opportunity to attack Selena. Dolan reacted, but Christina was faster, intercepting the blow. Jorid, knocked back twice, was shocked by her strength. Jorid called her an ultra-durable, explaining her resilience. Christina, unfamiliar with the term, assumed it was demon jargon. Intrigued by her strength, Jorid challenged her to a proper duel. Christina, eager to fight, activated her spirit sword's awakening, exciting Jorid. Though powerful, he lacked agility. Christina easily dodged his attacks, finding an opening to strike. Her blow could have been fatal, but Jorid, incredibly resilient, quickly stopped the bleeding, praising her skill. To compensate for his lack of speed, he increased his durability. Selena engaged Garen, who, seemingly the most reasonable of the demon knights, allowed her to attack first. She landed a few blows but lacked the resolve to kill, earning Garen's praise for her energy. She summoned her giant serpent, but Garen, unimpressed, pointed out that demonic serpents were far more formidable. He challenged her to strangle him, exposing her weakness, her inability to kill, even an enemy. He mocked her inherited serpent curse and her hesitation, despising half-hearted fighters. As he attacked Selena, Dolan intervened, channeling his dragon force into a powerful punch. Jaren, shocked by the force, wondered how a human could possess such power. Unlike Selena, Dolan was ready to kill if necessary, though these were no ordinary demons. They wouldn't fall easily. The final demon knight arrived, halting Dolan's attack. Even without considering his seemingly limitless mana, his appearance screamed power. The elves despaired. 3 were difficult enough, now there was another. Fortunately, the demon soldiers outside had been eliminated, so defeating these 4 would secure their victory. Intrigued by Dolan's fearless demeanor against a powerful demon, Jorg admired his courage. Though far stronger than Garen, he apologized for interfering. Jaren, understanding Jorg's thirst for a challenging fight, stepped back. Jorg had always sought the thrill of battling powerful opponents. With the air of a seasoned warrior, Jorg sensed Dolan's excitement for the battle and reciprocated. He hadn't encountered a worthy opponent on this plane for centuries, anticipating a thrilling fight. Dolan initiated the attack, introducing himself as he struck. Jorg, surprised, recognized the name but wasn't sure of the connection. Physically, Dolan was no match for the demon warrior, but his dragon force repelled the attack, shocking Jorg. Jorg, sensing Dolan's true nature, realized who he was. Dolan, aware of this, restrained his dragon power. They continued their exchange, Dolan utilizing his greater agility and magic. Jorg, wielding 3 swords and a shield, rendered Dolan's magic nearly useless, astounding the onlookers. Despite Dolan's relentless attacks, neither gained the upper hand. They exchanged compliments, Jorg impressed by Dolan's human strength. Dolan, initially assuming Jorg was a demon like the others, realized he was a fallen god, a former deity turned demonic. Jorg, surprised by Dolan's knowledge, hinted at his hidden secret but didn't press, wanting an unhindered fight. Dolan worried about his human body's limits, but unleashing his full dragon power risked destroying the village before defeating the knights. Impatient, Jorg unleashed a flurry of powerful sword attacks. Dolan, overwhelmed by the speed and precision, could only dodge, his counterattacks ineffective. Realizing he couldn't win this way, he tapped into his dragon force. Rafrasia and Jorud, bored, attempted a sneak attack. Jaren blocked Christina and Selena, preventing them from interfering. Annoyed by their attempt to exploit his momentary distraction, Dolan retaliated with a powerful counterattack. Only Jorg sensed the shift in his fighting style, further solidifying his suspicions. The 2 demons, severely injured, retreated. Jorg apologized for the interruption, but assured them such tactics wouldn't defeat Dolan. Jorg, gathering his demonic energy, prepared his ultimate attack, a divine power from his former godly life, aiming to subdue Dolan with a single blow. He declared that if Dolan survived, he would acknowledge him as a worthy opponent. It was one of his proudest techniques, rarely countered. Selena was terrified, but Dolan smiled. Jorg wondered if he would survive, but Dolan, gathering his dragon force, deflected the attack skyward. Everyone was stunned. Jorg, having finally found a true challenge, was speechless. He realized their power came from a pact, but encountering Dolan made it worthwhile. Dolan stated he wasn't fighting for their amusement. Jorg, sensing Dolan held back, called a truce. He declared that the villagers had 3 days to choose between joining the demon realm or facing death. Jorg called his comrades back, ending the fight for now. The ironclad demon warned Selena against showing mercy in a deathmatch, predicting her demise if she continued. Annoyed but obedient, the other demons retreated, promising to settle the score later. Christina, determined, vowed to make them pay in 3 days. Rafrasia, vengeful, promised to torture Diodora until she begged for release. Diodora, equally determined, was ready to fight for her fallen comrades and family. The demons agreed to a 3-day ceasefire, and Dolan promised to fight with his full power then. Jorg, still in disbelief about fighting a dragon god in human form, lamented his cruel fate. Selena, worried, embraced Dolan, finding his earlier smile chilling. He reassured her, confirming they were unharmed. They had many questions about his display of power, but that would have to wait. They needed to speak with the elves, who were grateful for their help in minimizing casualties. Geo led them to the Elder and 2 other important figures. The Elder, having heard about Dolan, thanked him for saving Marl and defending the village. Due to Dolan's extraordinary power, they'd summoned a special guest from town, Olivia, a former villager, and witness to Dolan's abilities. She thanked him for his assistance, explaining she'd left the village to pursue knowledge, returning upon hearing of the attack. The Elder explained their plan, a full-scale assault on the portal in 3 days. Destroying it would banish the powerful demons, who relied on its energy. It was a risky but necessary move. Instead of waiting, they would fight, even if it meant defeat, to stop the demons' world-destroying ambitions. The victory meant reclaiming the forest. Dolan agreed, offering their continued support. The Elder, though reluctant to rely on outsiders, recognized their immense power, making them crucial to the battle. He should have been begging for their help, not the other way around. Humbled, but desperate, Elder Deer accepted, grateful for their offer. Olivia vouched for their trustworthiness, revealing she'd requested reinforcements from the kingdom. This large-scale battle threatened many regions, requiring a thorough strategy against the 4 demon knights. Their earlier fight had revealed their strengths and weaknesses. Dolan sensed the 3 races' fierce determination to protect the forest. Determined to protect the forest, he vowed to do his best, promising not to disappoint. The women echoed his resolve, determined to eradicate the monsters. Meanwhile, Rafrasia and Jorud, furious about their defeat, took their anger out on the demon soldiers. Jaren urged restraint, reminding them soldiers were a limited resource. He asked Jorg to intervene, but he was indifferent, understanding their need to vent. Suppressing their battle lust would be counterproductive. He allowed them to unleash their frustration on the ants, knowing they all craved a rematch with Dolan. Jaren noted Selena's raw potential, believing she could be a formidable opponent if pushed. Jorg, eager to fight Dolan again, anticipated a memorable battle, a welcome change from their monotonous existence. He hadn't felt such anticipation in ages. He saw in Dolan the makings of a true warrior, determination, skill, and boundless energy, reminding him of the celestial realm. He recalled his time as a divine soldier, fighting demons alongside other gods. The battles were grueling, but the White Dragon King never tired, always pushing back the demonic forces. That image was seared into his memory. Myral, a friend of the dragon god, had requested his aid. Now, he lived as a human. Jorg recognized the White Dragon King, a name that inspired fear, a being who ended wars and ushered in an era of peace. Their upcoming rematch promised to be legendary. Back with Dolan, after the meeting, he found Diodora mourning the flower spirits. She warned him to stay away, then realized he was already beside her. Concerned about her injuries, with the battle looming, he knew she couldn't fight like that. She was surprised he recognized Rafrasia's poison, which she'd been hiding. He, impressed by her resilience, secretly transferred his dragon life force, calling it a purification spell. She'd sensed something unusual about him, questioning his humanity. He asked her to treat him as an ordinary person. She confided her grief for the beautiful flower spirits, undeserving of their fate. She sought revenge. Dolan offered his help, and she, grateful and healed, thanked him, ready to fight without reservation. She enjoyed their conversation and departed. Selena, wondering where he'd been, was greeted by Fio and Marl, who brought tea. Knowing Dolan's strength, Theo wanted to ensure he was well fed for the upcoming battle. He enjoyed the meal, praising the village's delicious, natural, and wholesome food. He doubted he'd ever tire of it. Christina, having already devoured her share, prompted a jealous remark from Selena about her maintaining her figure despite eating so much. Christina explained her fast metabolism and training regimen prevented weight gain. Selena, admiring Christina's physique, noted her impressive assets. Marl, listening, felt a pang of insecurity. Elves weren't known for their endowments. They were slender, with fair skin and pretty faces. The four women then stared at Dolan, who was intently listening to their conversation, amused by his lack of embarrassment. He simply praised Theo's beauty, telling her not to be envious. Flattered, she promised to chat more later. With the battle looming, they decided to rest early. However, noticing Selena's trembling hands, Dolan grew concerned. That night, finding her awake and alone, he checked on her. She assumed he couldn't sleep. He lied, saying he wanted some fresh air, and she pointed out the beautiful night sky. Dolan was captivated by its beauty, understanding the elves' fierce protectiveness. The moonlight filtering through the leaves created a magical atmosphere, a testament to the elves' millennia-long harmony with nature. The distant clang of the forge signaled the skilled artisans preparing for battle, eager to help their friends achieve victory. He sat and talked with Selena, mentioning how people often called him strange, but he was indifferent to their opinions. He then addressed her worry, feeling responsible for dragging her into this conflict, knowing she disliked fighting. She clarified that she didn't fear battle, but hated taking a life. She could have killed the demon general, but hesitated, despite his cruelty towards the elves and flower spirits. She felt useless, believing her inaction cost lives. Dolan admitted he'd always considered Lamia to be a cold-blooded killer. He explained that he invited her to live in the village because of her kind heart, unlike other Lamia. It sounded like a confession, making Selena blush furiously. He assured her she didn't need to change. He appreciated her unique qualities. Her innocence, kindness, and pure heart were what he admired. Overwhelmed, Selena was speechless, especially when he gifted her a magic crystal imbued with his dragon force, though he kept its creation a secret. She was astonished by its purity and potent energy, far exceeding a normal crystal. He explained it was his favorite, now hers, hoping it would protect her. With the battle looming, he reassured her, telling her to trust him and have no fear. Christina, emerging from her room, teased them, having witnessed their late-night rendezvous. She'd woken up and, worried they'd catch a cold, brought them a blanket. She playfully complained about missing out on their cozy moment and joined them, sharing the peaceful night before the storm. Like everyone else, she was determined to protect the beautiful forest. Selena declared her resolve, ready to use her power when needed. Christina, inspired, vowed to vanquish evil and restore peace. Selena finally went to bed, relieving them. Christina, realizing Selena's earlier stress, was grateful for Dolan's comforting words. Curious, she asked about Jorud's ultra durable comment. Dolan, feigning ignorance, concealed its true meaning. The next morning, the warriors gathered. Geo rallied them, invoking the fallen warrior sacrifice and the forest's plight, channeling their rage against the demons. Their target was the main portal, with 3 smaller portals guarded by divided forces. Olivia led the elves, while the beast folk and spider folk were led by their elders. Geo and Diadora patrolled, ensuring the army reached the main portal with full strength. The trio, the forest dwellers' last hope, would confront the enemy commanders. They neared the main portal, but were intercepted. Selena stayed behind to fight, allowing Christina and Dolan to proceed. Though worried, they agreed, leaving her to support Geo's group. The demon warrior sensed the elven offensive. Jorg anticipated facing the dragon god. The others were eager for battle. Jorud's portal, being closest to the forest, was targeted by the spider folk and beast folk. Raphrasia awaited her opponent, surprised to see only Diadora. Knowing reinforcements were a liability, Diadora chose a solo fight. Raphrasia, believing they underestimated her, vowed to make Diadora beg for death. Diadora vowed to make the toxic flower wilt. Jaren, clad in near impenetrable armor, faced the elves. Their arrows, aimed at his joints, were largely ineffective. Geo, overwhelmed, was pushed back. Jaren, bored, was then struck by Selena's ice storm. Surprised by her power, she realized the bracelet amplified her magic. Theo, surprised to see her, thought she was at the main portal. Selena explained Christina and Dolan were handling that. Jaren, slightly injured, recognized Selena's attack, praising her and welcoming their rematch. He envisioned devouring her. Selena, though scared, retorted she'd eat him first. Dolan and Christina were still far from the main portal. Christina worried about Selena, facing the powerful demon generals. Dolan, unconcerned, trusted the bracelet to protect her. He believed in Selena's potential, rivaling even the generals. Christina, reassured, still felt uneasy and considered turning back. Dolan stopped her, explaining the importance of a concentrated attack and the bracelet's protective properties. Reassured, she continued towards the portal. Jorud was overpowering the beast folk and spider folk, his strength rendering their attacks useless. Christina, having split off earlier, arrived as reinforcements. At her request, Dolan continued to the main portal. Her attack, though surprising, only knocked Jorud down. The grateful beast folk watched as Christina told them to retreat, taking on Jorud herself. Unwilling to risk more lives, she would face the ultra-durable opponent alone, activating her sword's second form, promising a swift victory. Jorud, eager for a prolonged battle, encouraged her to savor the fight. It was an even match. Christina's speed and swordsmanship versus Jorud's superior strength and regeneration. He attacked relentlessly, knowing she couldn't defeat him with a single blow. A prolonged fight favored him, as his wounds healed instantly. He praised her durability, and she, annoyed by the unfamiliar term, pressed her attack. Meanwhile, Dolan, trusting Christina's victory, chose a different path, aiming to minimize casualties before confronting Jorg. He unleashed his dragon wings, flying towards a nearby secondary portal. Diadora, having defeated Refrasia's demon soldiers, asked how long she intended to watch. To prevent her escape, Diadora created a cage. Refrasia, though aware of the disadvantage, accepted the challenge, wanting no interference in their duel. The flower spirits unleashed their powers. Diadora tried to dispel Refrasia's poisonous miasma but failed. Refrasia revealed her unique skill, manipulating absorbed life force. To Diadora's horror, Refrasia controlled the spirits of her fallen comrades, a flower spirit's greatest power, their life essence. Diadora dodged, but the sheer number of projectiles inflicted minor injuries. Refrasia taunted her, asking how it felt to have her friends' lives in her hands. She urged Diadora to embrace them, to be with them. Enraged, Diadora attacked with vines, which dissolved upon contact with the miasma. To win, she had to counter this ability. Refrasia, enjoying her advantage, toyed with Diadora, savoring her torment. Diadora, refusing to be a plaything, unleashed a new skill, Black Roses. She too possessed the power to manipulate life force, a power she'd abhorred for its destructive nature. But facing Refrasia, she unleashed it, seeking revenge for the fallen flower spirits. Refrasia, thrilled, wondered who would absorb the other's life force first. The flower spirits clashed, their powers canceling each other out. Diadora, less experienced with this power, was at a disadvantage. Refrasia, a master of her poisonous miasma, easily repelled Diadora's attacks, mocking her bravado. Her poison spread, draining Diadora's life force. Refrasia taunted Diadora, calling her foolish for coming alone and predicting her lonely demise. She asked how it felt to have her life force drained, but that was precisely Diadora's plan. Once Refrasia had absorbed enough Black Roses, Diadora unleashed her trap. Refrasia, reveling in her power, suddenly felt a sharp pain. Diadora's life force, disguised as poison, flowed through her, and a seed sprouted within her, binding her and absorbing her stolen energy. Diadora explained her strategy. During their previous fight, she'd planted a seed in Refrasia's wound. The battle was decided then, but Diadora waited for the opportune moment. Refrasia screamed as thorns pierced her, her bones shattering as she was crushed. Diadora had won, but severely injured and drained, she was vulnerable. The demon soldiers closed in, but Dolan arrived, obliterating them with an energy blast. Seeing him flying, Diadora, exhausted, fainted. Meanwhile, Selena was in trouble, gravely wounded by Garen's attack. Her friends were desperate to save her. Dolan, unaware, healed Diadora with a powerful restoration spell, disguised as a magic circle, simultaneously destroying the portal and cutting off the demon soldiers' reinforcements. Diadora, surprised by the spell's potency, learned it offered complete healing within the circle. Twice saved, she was grateful, but puzzled by Dolan's non-human form. He explained his dragon wings, while his body remained human. He was a reincarnated dragon, explaining his dragon force. Diodora, astonished, had never met a dragon, let alone a reincarnated one. She wanted to help elsewhere but was still weak. Dolan urged her to rest, assuring her they had things under control. He praised her victory against Raphrasia. She, insistent on helping, asked him to carry her, attempting to seduce him with her beauty, but he was immune. She wished him luck, warning him about Jorg's immense power, fearing their battle would devastate the forest. Selena, meanwhile, had a large hole in her tail. Fortunately, it missed vital organs, causing only blood loss. The brothers tried to heal her, but the special crystal activated, its healing power mending her wounds. Relieved, they urged her to hide while they continued the fight. Selena, barely conscious, refused to leave them. Fio pleaded with her to retreat, causing Selena great distress. Meanwhile, Christina's battle raged on. Jorud's ranged attacks were ineffective, and he suffered further blows. His regeneration slowed. Christina wondered how many times she had to hit him. He acknowledged her. Ultra durable. Nature, possessing monstrous strength despite her human form. But such power bred fear and rejection among ordinary humans, who couldn't accept those who defied their understanding of normal. His words struck a nerve, and he added that ultra-durables were enemies of nature, capable of slaying gods and demons, even ancient dragons. This was why Dolan avoided explaining the term. He'd been killed by one. The story of the dragon-slaying hero shocked Christina. Meanwhile, Jorg, recognizing the White Dragon King, bowed respectfully, acknowledging their past warrior connection. He'd told his comrades about Dolan's true identity. He found the friendship between Dolan and Christina ironic. Sensing her hero's blood, he unleashed his full power, swiftly severing Jorud's arms and legs, shocking him. He taunted Jorud, asking how it felt to be killed by a hero, reminding him of the dragon god's fate. Christina finished the fight, decapitating Jorud. She knew the hero had betrayed the dragon god, imagining his resentment. Meanwhile, Jorg revealed his past as a war god, eager to face Dolan, who was surprised he'd challenge him despite knowing his true identity. Jorg reasoned that Dolan's human form limited his power. He wouldn't stand a chance against his dragon form, but now, he felt confident. Dolan, saddened by Jorg's battle-obsessed descent into darkness, proposed they fight in the demon realm to avoid destroying the forest. Jorg, pleased, agreed, and Dolan stepped through the portal. The underworld was a desolate wasteland, nothing but shifting earth and oppressive darkness, as far as the eye could see. Selena was urged to leave, to turn her back and never look back. But Fio, ever the optimist, reassured her snake companion with a naive smile. Selena was paralyzed by fear, unsure of what to do. She didn't want to hurt anyone, and the thought of escaping, tempting as it was, felt like a betrayal of the elves. She despised her hesitation, her inability to move. She wanted to go to Fio's aid, but her body refused to obey. Normally, a Lamia like her wouldn't hesitate to fight, but Selena was different. She abhorred violence. Perhaps, she reasoned, it was just a convenient excuse for her cowardice. Meanwhile, the others were desperately trying to inflict damage on Garen, but their attacks were proving ineffective. They'd initially targeted the joints of his armor, believing them to be weak points, but they were wrong. Garen's internal physiology was unlike anything they'd encountered. He commended them for lasting as long as they had, but now he was done playing games. He may be weaker than his comrade Jorg, but he was still far stronger than the two they'd already managed to take down. As his armor began to open, revealing what lay beneath, Fio gasped in shock. He looked like a living skeleton, his body capable of shifting and reshaping at will. Even his armor and weapons, they realized, were extensions of his malleable flesh. The cries of the elves jolted Selena back to reality. If she didn't act now, they would all die because of her weakness. Looking at the gift Dolan had given her, she felt a surge of power. It was true, she didn't want to hurt anyone. But the thought of her friend's suffering was even more terrifying. Just then, Gio was struck down, unable to defend himself. Jaren flung him aside, preparing to deliver the finishing blow. Fio screamed in despair, but just as Garen was about to strike, her snake companion intervened. Using her chain of sin, she bound Jaren, urging the others to escape. The surge of mana flowing through her was frightening, even to herself. Jaren, momentarily surprised, roared in triumph as she began to break free of the chains, but the giant serpent stood ready to defend them. Seeing his opening, Jaren unleashed a devastating downward strike, but before it could connect, Selena's fist, glowing with righteous energy, slammed into him, sending him hurtling backward. Her friends, seeing this display of power, finally felt safe enough to retreat, leaving the two powerhouses to their duel. Jaren, impressed, acknowledged the raw strength of Alamia, questioning why she hadn't unleashed it sooner. Wouldn't things have been much more entertaining? In response, Jaren unleashed his full magical power. But Selena was no longer afraid. She declared her newfound resolve and summoned a cascade of rocks to crush her opponent. The barrage of rock hit hard, but it wasn't enough to finish the demon general. So Selena resorted to a secret Lamia technique, calling upon the blood of the serpent god that flowed within her veins to bind the soul of the wicked. As she charged, Jaren was shocked to find his body frozen, completely immobilized. The magical crystal Dolan had given her had amplified the technique's effectiveness. The cursed eyes of the snake people, he realized, were not to be underestimated. Selena, with a whispered apology, unleashed a final, devastating blow, channeling all of her power. She summoned what appeared to be 8 giant serpents, but as they coalesced, the resulting form felt more like a colossal, all-consuming dragon. Jaren struggled against his fate, but it was no use. The invader was obliterated, vanishing into nothingness, just like his two comrades. Gio and Fio could hardly believe their eyes. They had been completely outmatched, yet Selena had turned the tide at the last moment, avenging the fallen elves. Silently, Selena thanked Dolan for lending her his strength. He was in the demon world, ready for their prearranged battle. The surrounding landscape was eerily silent and desolate. This was supposedly Jorg's territory, yet there wasn't a castle or even a simple dwelling in sight. He explained that he currently lived as a mercenary, needing nothing more than the thrill of battle. Apologizing for the less than ceremonial welcome he'd given the dragon god, Dolan began to transform one of his arms to its primal form. Here, he remarked, he could unleash his full power without fear of collateral damage. Jorg, thrilled, recognized his opponent as one of the 7 primordial dragons. He admitted to having once feared Dolan more than any other deity, but now, he was eager to see if Dolan's mortal body could withstand his full might. Dolan accepted the challenge, but warned Jorg that the price of engaging him in battle was his life. Jorg, still respectful despite the threat, charged forward, only to be instantly repelled by a single swing of Dolan's transformed arm. His excitement mounting, Jorg unleashed a devastating technique, a move said to make even demons and gods tremble. One strike pierced the heavens, another rent the earth, and from the resulting chaos, a vortex of despair hurtled towards Dolan. But Dolan simply cleaved it in two, leaving Jorg stunned. The power of a dragon, it seemed, was truly immeasurable. Meanwhile, back at the portal, Fio was surprised to see Diadora. She had been ordered to support her brother, after all. Diadora apologized, explaining that she had a debt to repay Raphrasia. Ultimately, though, she was just glad they had won. At the main gate, Headmaster Olivia had arrived, but Dolan was nowhere to be seen. Realizing they had gone to the demon world to confront her, she grew worried. Nearby, a strange magic stone caught her attention. Just then, the 3 elders approached, reporting that the demon soldiers throughout the forest had been eliminated. All that remained was to close the portal. The headmaster, however, expressed her concern about Dolan's absence. Looking at the stone, she voiced her desire to destroy the portal immediately, seeing it as a golden opportunity. The other 2 elders agreed. The mission's primary objective was to restore peace to the forest, and that goal was now within their grasp. They knew it was a morally complex decision, but the safety of everyone in the forest depended on it. If Dolan returned victorious, all would be well. But if he lost, and other demon generals emerged, they feared the already depleted forces wouldn't stand a chance. Back with Dolan, the young man remained in complete control of the fight. No matter how fiercely Jorg attacked, his blows couldn't land. Even wielding 4 swords in a desperate assault, his swordsmanship was no match for Dolan's power. With a single punch from his transformed arm, Dolan sent Jorg flying. The force of the blow nearly shattered Jorg's armor. Driven by an unyielding battle lust, Jorg staggered to his feet, insisting he was unharmed. Knowing his usual techniques were useless against the dragon god, he prepared to unleash a secret technique, one he had spent years perfecting. At the same time, the younger group, having overheard the elders' plan to destroy the portal, intervened. Their comrade was still in the demon world. How could they do such a thing? Diadora explained that the mission's top priority was restoring peace to the forest, and that opportunity was right in front of them. She pleaded for their understanding. Fearing there would be no second chance if the demonic horde breached the gate, the elders were resolute. Geo understood their reasoning but felt conflicted due to his debt to Dolan's group. Fio questioned her father's seriousness, prompting him to reiterate that they had no other choice. Selena, however, remained steadfast in her belief that her beloved Dolan would not be defeated. She pleaded with them to wait just a little longer. Christina echoed this sentiment, admitting she had no guarantee of Dolan's victory, but possessed a strong premonition that he would return. The elders, finding this too vague, remained unconvinced. The small snake girl argued that Dolan was risking his life for them. He could have waited for reinforcements from the royal capital, but instead, he chose to bravely fight to protect the forest's inhabitants. Abandoning him now would be a grave betrayal. Headmaster Olivia, hearing this, seemed to soften her stance. Diodora sided with Selena, arguing that destroying the portal would bring them lifelong shame. No different than being defeated by the demons themselves. The two elf siblings concurred, and finally the elders relented, placing their faith in Dolan, and agreeing to wait. If he won, they would rejoice. If he lost, they would face the consequences together. Back in the demon world, Dolan faced a barrage of energy blades, Jorg's ultimate technique, a chaotic fusion of divine and demonic power, known as the Four Heavenly Pillars of Death. Initially, Dolan dodged and weaved, assessing the attack. Finding it insufficient to harm him, he met the assault head-on, using his divine dragon breath to obliterate the technique entirely. The resulting explosion of power awakened several beings in the demon world, who recognized Dolan's presence. The seemingly undeterred demon general, Jorg, lunged forward with a surprise attack. However, Dolan sensed his every move, effortlessly severing each of Jorg's attacking limbs. Remarkably, Jorg felt no pain and continued his relentless assault. Yet, the difference in power was too vast, even with Dolan in his human form. With a swift, decisive strike, Dolan cleaved the corrupted divine warrior in two. Jorg realized that even his strongest attacks were like mere pinpricks to the White Dragon King. Dolan praised his fighting spirit, comparing it to the god of war, a compliment that moved Jorg to tears. Having found a worthy opponent, he declared himself content, accepting his death without regret. Dolan, his blade dripping with demonic energy, declared that his sword represented the lives Jorg had taken from the forest inhabitants. Jorg accepted this judgment, declaring he had no regrets as he faded into nothingness. Witnessing this display, a shadowy figure expressed excitement, having waited a long time to see Dolan again. She had always believed the White Dragon King couldn't be so easily vanquished, especially not by humans. Promising to visit him another time, she vanished. Dolan returned safely to the human world, to the immense relief of his friends. Selena rushed to embrace him, welcoming him back. Immediately afterward, the portal linking the two worlds was destroyed, securing victory for the forest's inhabitants. Celebrations erupted, fueled by the promise of the dying forest revival. Dolan's group received heartfelt thanks and an invitation to join the festivities. Fio helped Selena and Christina into celebratory attire, much to Christina's embarrassment, as she wasn't accustomed to such revealing clothing. When asked for his opinion, Dolan gazed at them, speechless, calling the sight of the two beauties in such attire a grand reward. Later, Christina was whisked away by some admirers. Dolan, with a mischievous grin, invited Selena to dance. She readily accepted, and together they joined the joyous celebration. Selena's wounds had completely healed, much to everyone's relief. She confessed that during the battle, she had initially wanted to flee, but Dolan reassured her that her bravery in standing up for everyone afterward more than made up for it. There was no need for shame, she should hold her head high with pride. Selena attributed her newfound courage to Dolan, explaining that looking at the crystal he had given her gave her strength. Later, during the festivities, Mew overheard a familiar melody, a song about herself and a hero, and went to investigate. To her surprise, Christina was the one singing, recounting the tale of the hero and the white dragon who vanquished an ancient evil. Dolan applauded her performance, asking where she'd learned the song. Christina explained it had been passed down through generations in her family. Dolan's suspicions were confirmed. Christina was a descendant of the hero who had fought alongside him long ago. When asked about the next verse, Christina hesitated, calling it a tale of great shame she couldn't bear to share. The following day, the three elves prepared to depart. Headmaster Olivia renewed her invitation for Dolan to attend the academy, an offer he promised to consider, admitting he was intrigued. Diodora, clearly smitten, impulsively kissed Dolan, shocking everyone present. Selena playfully scolded her for stealing her first kiss. The dark elf, unfazed, presented Dolan with a seed, explaining the kiss was a thank you for saving her life twice. That evening, the three friends returned safely to their village. Dolan suggested they drop off their belongings and then report the events to the villagers. However, as Dolan opened the door to his familiar home, Selena called him over. The pair found themselves telling stories of dragons to a group of captivated children. Dolan explained that all dragons shared a common ancestor, a primordial being who existed before the gods, possessing an incredibly long lifespan. However, this progenitor grew lonely and, envious of the gods, tore itself apart to create the new dragon kings of the world. Its wings became Vritra, the swift, its tail, Hyperion, the destroyer, its teeth, Alexander, the breaker, its eyes, Jormungand, the all-seeing, and so on. But the most important parts, its heart and soul, remained, even after the body was fragmented. From these, the White Dragon King, the strongest of all dragons, was born. That, Dolan revealed, was him. The children, enthralled, eagerly awaited the continuation of the story the next day. Friends from the Green Forest arrived, and Diodora, observing Dolan's storytelling, learned he used to tell stories only to his younger brother, but the other children had grown to love them too, gathering whenever he began. Theo praised the story, remarking that it felt as though Dolan had witnessed these events firsthand. Thanks to Dolan's efforts, interaction between the village and the Green Forest had increased significantly, bringing new opportunities and prosperity to the villagers. Everything was looking up, and the friends were deeply grateful to Dolan for creating these connections. His role in protecting the forest had also sparked curiosity, drawing visitors eager to see the birthplace of this unlikely hero. Two young admirers approached, eager to shake Dolan's hand and shower him with praise. Diodora gently intervened, protecting Dolan from the enthusiastic fans, explaining that Christina was busy with her friend. Christina, though praised for her impressive combat skills, seemed to lack social graces. Selena, teasing both her and Diodora, found herself pulled into a warm embrace by the dark elf, the intoxicating fragrance momentarily overwhelming even Lamia. Dolan, witnessing the scene, could only shake his head in amusement. After a brief rest, they were invited by Captain Baron's group to join them on a hunt, a suggestion initially made by Mew. Dolan was reluctant, but upon realizing he had already accepted payment in the form of the milk pouch Mew had given him, he agreed. During the hunt, something felt amiss. Baron and his group were attacking harmless creatures. Confused, Dolan intervened, pointing out that the bear they were targeting hadn't provoked them. Baron, however, argued that all monsters were a threat to humans and needed to be eliminated, lest they harm the villagers. Even Selena saw nothing wrong with this, advising Dolan not to overthink it. Back home, Dolan was greeted by his friend Irie, who was curious about his inspection of the fields. As the villagers were preparing to migrate, she assumed Dolan's long absence had kept him unaware of the decision. Muggle had made up her mind, and the others had followed suit. Dolan knew that leaving Varun was a death sentence. It was the only land they could survive on. He immediately sought out the village elders, questioning their decision. Their minds were made up. The final announcement and preparations for departure were all that remained. Dolan argued that there was no guarantee they'd find a suitable new home. They countered that remaining in Varun offered no chance for growth. Dolan insisted everyone loved the village, but they disagreed, reminding him that his perspective wasn't shared by all. Dolan realized with a pang of loneliness that he might be the only one who truly loved Varun. The next day, a family with a small child departed, the first of many. A sense of unease settled over Dolan. He visited his mentor, Muggle, and found her with the first magic tome she had ever taught him. The book was invaluable, yet she gifted it to Dolan. Irie, noticing Dolan hadn't left with the others, asked why. He explained he would stay behind to watch over the village, in case anyone returned. That very day, everyone else left Varen. Dolan's parents bid him a tearful farewell, expressing their belief that he, being special, would be all right. Their words hinted at a shared knowledge of Dolan's true nature. Christina approached, teasingly mentioning that she had used Mew's milk to make him a treat. It might not be as good as his cooking, she admitted, but she hoped it would bring him comfort. It was Mew's last milk, she added, making it all the more precious. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed through the village. Rushing to investigate, they found Dolan's home, along with all the others, engulfed in flames. Christina and several other villagers were responsible. They reasoned that Dolan's attachment to the village stemmed from his home, so they destroyed it, hoping he would leave. Dolan, however, remained resolute. He would stay no matter what. Seeing his defiance, Christina moved to burn the fields as well. Desperate, Dolan pleaded with Selena to intervene. But to his utter shock, Selena sided with the others. He couldn't comprehend why Selena, and now Christina, would betray him so. They had faced countless dangers together, shoulder to shoulder. Yet, now they were abandoning him. Christina added to his despair, telling him not to resist. No one wanted to live with him anymore. His disguise as a villager was gone. Everyone knew his true identity. This was Dolan's deepest fear realized. Christina argued that his presence, his true nature, would inevitably disrupt their lives. He was too different. Dolan spiraled into despair. For 16 years, the White Dragon King had believed he was bridging the gap between himself and the villagers, helping them prosper. But the chasm, it turned out, was far wider than he'd realized. A voice echoed in his mind, mocking his arrogance and challenging his perception of his actions. Dolan insisted his efforts were an expression of love for his family and for the people of Varun. The voice countered that it was a one-sided love, the reason they had left. He was clinging to a delusion, a fantasy. He might want to live as a human, but had he ever considered that humanity would never truly accept him? He was using friendship, the voice accused, to escape his true self. A one-sided heart would never find happiness. He was pitiable, truly alone, now and forever. Suddenly Dolan awoke, not in his human form, but as a dragon, in a familiar mountainous landscape. He wondered if it was the place he once called home. Everything felt hazy, dreamlike. The wound inflicted by the hero was gone. Had it all been a long dream? The thought was agonizing. 16 years of happiness, of human connection, reduced to an illusion. He was alone again. The voice returned, reminding him of his true duty as the world's guardian, a responsibility he had shirked. But Dolan just wanted to be human. Then, miraculously, Selena appeared within his mindscape, recognizing the dragon before her as the one she loved. When he spoke, she was certain. It was Dolan. He, however, was baffled as to how she had entered his dream. He tried to playfully chide Selena, but she, with disarming innocence, explained she had gone to sleep hoping to see him again when she woke up. Her words struck a chord within the White Dragon King. When he asked if she knew who he truly was, she simply replied, "You're Dolan, from Varun village." She recounted their first meeting, his kindness, and how he had helped her find a place to belong. Whenever she was afraid, he was there to reassure her. Now, it was her turn. Selena confessed that while Dolan appeared strong, she sensed a vulnerability within him. She then asked, with childlike wonder, if she could touch his dragon form, having never seen it before. With a joyful leap, she embraced the massive white dragon, thanking him for entering her lonely life. Without him, she admitted, she would still be wandering, searching for companionship. The White Dragon King, in turn, thanked her for coming to him. The exchange left them both filled with a newfound joy, and Dolan felt a surge of confidence he hadn't experienced before. Selena then yawned, mentioning she was sleepy, despite already being in a dream. Dolan chuckled, assuring her that when she woke up, he would be there. They promised to meet the next morning, and then she vanished. Dolan, now fully aware of the enemy's ploy, addressed the shadowy figure, apologizing for the delay. Annoyed by Selena's disruption of her plan, the figure revealed her true identity. Calavith, the fallen goddess of destruction and oblivion, his oldest and most formidable foe. By subjecting him to the nightmare, she had intended to break his spirit and claim his life. Dolan, however, expressed pride in his friendship with Selena, the Lamia who had defied a god. He then challenged Calavith, questioning her true motives. Surely, she hadn't come merely to visit an old friend?